it's Monday, August 19th at 2 p.m. in Nairn, Hyman with a joint council with Baldwin, and we declare the meeting open. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? No. And then we have the appointment of the chair. Councillor McVeigh, can you first this?
Yep.
And I would like a seconder over here. How about you? Is everyone fine with myself chairing the meeting?
Yep.
Okay, be it resolved that Amy Mazie will chair the joint emergency council meeting of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin. All in favor? That's carried. First of all, I want to thank Councillor Austin, who was the first one to bring it to our attention that there may be some interesting traffic on our back roads. It was as simple as him driving around and discovering that there were really beautiful new roads near Agnew Lake Mine. Everyone's going to have a chance to speak as we discuss the issues. Please don't speak over anyone else. You will have your chance, but also be brief. So, first up, we're going to get the background information from Nairn Hyman Deputy Mayor Trevor McVeigh and just fill you in on, bring you up to date.
Good afternoon, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Trevor McVeigh. I'm Deputy Mayor here in Nairn and Hyman. After speaking with Mayor Mazie, she's asked me to do a quick overview of what this is all about, how it came about, and where we're about today. As she alluded to, last June or in June at our meeting, Councillor Austin brought it to us asking what was going on up at Agnew Lake Mine Road. It's all pretty, the site's pretty, it's all cut back. None of us knew, so we put it on to our CFO or CAO Ketchup to go look into that. In July at our meeting, she brought back all the information that it was low-level radioactive material from Nipissing First Nations that was going to be shipped here. 1,330 loads is the amount they were looking at. It's less contaminant than what is presently there, but we don't want it. So so we put forth some resolutions for Belinda to, or for CAO Ketchabot to go and find what communities maybe didn't know elsewhere, because we didn't know anything about it. So we sent her back with that. Shortly after that meeting, she sent an email out to all our stakeholders, all our community members, Aboriginal, non-Aboriginal in the area that could be affected by the flow of water. So that was all done. Well, 3 days after that meeting and her emails, Mayor Burnborn reached out to me and said, hey, we got to do something about this. We got to do something quick because they're looking at starting to haul in August. And this is literally like July 29th. So we had a meeting with Belinda. We started on the phone. We started calling our stakeholders, our businesses that were on the lake, businesses that were in the area, community members from other areas that we knew. Chiefs from local Aboriginal communities, trying to get the ball rolling because we needed to stop this or at least get some communication because we knew nothing. Espanola knew nothing, Baldwin knew nothing, we knew nothing. South Spanish River had no clue, and I don't think we've got a response from Sudbury yet at all. We've got no response from Sudbury, so whether they knew or not, didn't know, we don't know. So this whole issue is we'll get some communication, figuring out what's going on. So from that, Mayor Gorman and I went through, did that. He started an online petition, which was, the three of us decided was a good thing. It's got lots of traction. It's got lots of people to at least know what's going on. and raise awareness. And we also then got a letter from Michael Mantha that he agrees with us. He sent a letter to Parliament. We got a meeting last Tuesday with Mark Suri and Carol Hughes, MPs. That meeting was actually excellent. They went through and gave us a ton of pointers on what we should be doing, what we have to do, where we have to go. And one of them was this, the emergency meeting, so that we can get both councils on board to take our, to do our resolutions, so we can go to the government, so we can chase certain people. Also, the petition had to be changed because an online petition cannot be looked at by the government. They don't look at it in-house. It has to be a handwritten, signed petition, so we've got to redo that and get it out, which they will look at this afternoon. And kind of go from there. It's just been a lot of work in a very short period of time. Because this started in 2015, consultation, and the government looking to move this, because the mine site is owned by the government now. It's not owned by the mining company. So they're looking at moving it. And we found out about it, more or less. We found out about it in June, but July before we got the ball rolling. So we've been moving as fast as we can on this. And that's what we're here today to do, is to get these resolutions so we can move forward. That's, thanks again for everybody coming. The attendance is excellent, which means we've got a lot of concerned people, which is excellent. And both councils are here to work together to get this, resolved. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor McVeigh. Now we're gonna hear a few words from Mayor Gorham.
So, at the start, this is a good news story for the Nipissing First Nation. This is a safety or a health concern, and we're not trying to take away from that. They need to deal with this urgently as well to take this away from their community. We just need assurances, because up until now, the Agnew Lake mine's been poorly maintained. The fencing's in poor state of repair. The top dressing is degraded over time so that the levels are not acceptable. And the signage is poor as well. So going forward, we need assurances that that site will be maintained if it's to be put there, or it can't be put there at all. So we need public consultation as well, so that we feel whatever going forward, that everyone has all the information needed.
Thanks, Mayor Gorham. So let's get to work. Do we have to do anything for the information package that everyone has? Okay. Does anyone have any comments about the information package that was given to you? Anybody wanna? No, we're all good. Councillor McVeigh?
The only I've seen here, the MTO report seems like they're not gonna be moving forward until we have more consultation and stuff. So the MTO is on our side in one way, because they've stated that we're not moving forward until we get some consultation. So that's a good thing. We've got that here, which is.
Can I just ask where exactly that says that? Because I didn't see that.
We can say that one down here.
In a second, well, it's, you're paraphrasing, but yeah,
Yeah.
second page, second paragraph.
The rock tailing, which contains low levels of radioactive elements, will not be transported by MTO to the site until ministry receives necessary approval.
So that's
So
the
they're not-
Canadian
Yeah.
nuclear safety.
Yeah, so they don't have that yet, so that's, at least we're not under the gun to have this done for tomorrow. Because technically, when we found out about this in July, this could have started moving August 1st. We would have been none the wiser, and nothing we could have done about it then. So I think this is a great thing that we received on the 19th, which was Friday. So that's great. That's a great step in point.
Any other comments? Okay. They're long. So, understand. What's that? And that's just start out there. Why don't you, why don't you paraphrase what that's about? No, okay.
Yeah.
Did you want me to move forward with reading the next motion?
Yeah,
Okay, so we did prepare a motion, so I'll read it out to everyone, bear with me, it's fairly long and they tend to be a bit repetitive, but this is like a typical government resolution. So it says, whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin have been informed of the decision to transport naturally occurring radioactive material, NORM is the acronym, from the former Beaucage Mine and Nipissing First Nation reserve land and deposited at the Agnew Lake Tailings Management Area. And that acronym is ALTMA in the Township of Nairn and Hyman. And whereas this decision has significant implications for the environment, public health, and safety of surrounding communities, including those within the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Township of Baldwin. And whereas the decision to transport and deposit NORM to the ALTMA site was made without any consultation with the Township of Nairn and Hyman or other municipalities bordering Agnew Lake, resulting in the exclusion of local municipalities from the decision-making process. And whereas the exclusion of local municipalities from this process represents a serious breach of trust and a disregard for the well-being of the residents of these communities. And whereas there are significant concerns among residents regarding the potential contamination of drinking water sources, particularly Agnew Lake, which many residents rely on for safe drinking water. And whereas the risks associated with NORM are well documented and the proximity of the ALTMA site to Agnew Lake heightens the concerns regarding the potential contamination of this vital water source. And whereas according to information received from the Ministry of Mines, there are already some areas of the ALTMA site where dose estimates exceed the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission's regulatory limit for casual site users. And whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin held a joint emergency council meeting on August 19, 2024. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin respectfully demands that the Province of Ontario, the Ministry of Mines, and the Ministry of Transportation immediately halt the project involving the transportation and deposition of NORM at the ALTMA site until a clear line of communication is established with local municipalities. And be it further resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin respectfully demands full disclosure of all pertinent details regarding the proposed future NORM transportation and deposition plan, including specific transportation routes, emergency response plans, safety protocols, and the future management future management plan for the ALTMA site. And that the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of Township of Baldwin insist that environmental and health impact assessments be conducted with input from independent experts, and that these assessments include opportunities for public hearings to ensure transparency and community involvement. And that the Province of Ontario enact legislation that consultation with municipalities is a requirement of any projects that include the transportation and deposition of NORM. And that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable George Peary, the Minister of Mines, the Honorable Premi Sarkaria, the Minister of Transportation, the Honorable Andrea Cannon, I apologize if I say that wrong, the Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, Chief Toulouse and Sagamok and Anishinaabe Council members, Chief Nutchtai and Atikameksheng and Anishinaabe Council members, the Ontario Ombudsman, the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, the Canadian Environmental Law Association, MP Carol Hughes, MPP Michael Manta, the Association of Ontario Municipalities, and all Ontario municipalities.
Can I get a first? I'm gonna move that. And a second. Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you, CEO Petrova, for reading that. So I think that was very self-explanatory and relatively clear. Next, we have a motion to declare or to prepare a media release. Any discussion on that? Would you like to prepare a media release? Yeah, sure. Yes. I mean, it could involve us going to Ross or the CBC, CTV. Everyone, have I missed anyone? Can you move it, Counselor McDonald?
Yes.
And second it? Sure, we're getting fancy.
So this motion reads, whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin have formally expressed their strong concerns regarding the transportation and deposition of naturally occurring radioactive material to the Agnew Lake Tailings Management Area in the Township of Nairn and Hyman. And therefore be it resolved, both councils direct that these concerns be communicated publicly through a media release to ensure that residents of the Township of Nairn and Hyman, the residents of the Township of Baldwin, as well as all the municipalities along Highway 17, that this material will be transported through are informed. And further, that the media release shall highlight the potential environmental and public health risks, the potential contamination of drinking water, and exclusion of local municipalities from the decision-making process.
All in favor? Sorry, it was everybody here. No, okay, that's carried.
So going forward, if someone reaches out to one of the counselors for an opinion, or should we not stick together and channel them all through our,
Yes, who would you like it to be?
well, just
Like we need to pick one township or one CAO or.
for sure, but I would hate for the message to get misconstrued by someone going to one of the counselors, and it should always go through the same body, I believe.
CAO, what, who would you recommend?
Well,
For your forum?
I think,
A CAO?
yeah,
CAO
and
Petrova?
then she can designate someone to work on it, or and then approve it maybe, so that it's always the same message.
Sure.
Yeah, I can prepare it and,
Or we could prepare it and then they would just
and I could send it.
oversee, yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't want something to get,
But
catch one of our counselors and then twist it in some manner.
if someone's reaching out for a MRI interview, who would you like to be designated for that?
Or we could. The two of us or you or anyone,
Yeah,
we
or
can, yeah, talk and come up with a plan.
Counselor McVeigh has
Yeah.
done a lot of work on this as well. Oh, Counselor Deputy, sorry.
Can we get a copy of that meeting, so that we know exactly, our position, and if somebody asks us,
For sure.
we can exactly tell them.
Is that what you're saying though, so that a counselor can answer as long as we
It's
all have
within the
say?
guidelines of the
Okay,
message we're trying to portray, I guess.
yeah, I just want to make sure.
Sometimes they can twist things if they catch you,
Just send them.
anyone. So
Right.
as long as we have the same message going forward.
Do we need a motion for that? Okay. So next is a signature petition. Who would like to speak to that? Mayor Gorham, have you had some?
So we're up to over 700. We've gained the new petition for the parliament.
I don't know. I don't know the details.
So the other petition, we have over 700 signatures, so it's doing well. But to get on to parliament and the floor, we need to have it handwritten, so it needs 25 handwritten signatures. So we're gonna work on that going forward. I have a couple samples here. And then for each 25 signatures, we can get on the floor. So if we had 100, we can get on the floor 4 times with our message to parliament and questions and concerns, so we will work on that after this meeting.
Whereas I think online you needed 5,000 something.
And even then, they had mentioned because it wasn't handwritten and it wasn't verified, yeah, it has to be a certain format, so.
So is everyone fine with proceeding Counselor McVeigh.
Are you looking at, you're going to put that in 4 or 5 locations then?
Absolutely. We'll distribute them and have them
Then we can let everybody know where to go to sign.
for sure,
And will people be able to go door to door as well?
if they want it, for sure.
Yeah, I think some people are into Counselor Deputy.
So far, what I've heard, right now is that we're opposing the transportation, not knowing if it's gonna be done safely, blah, blah, blah. Are we not also opposing the transportation of this material to our properties? Period. We just don't want it.
Counselor McVeigh, I think that's our general feel. What, in the motion, did it necessarily spell that out that we do not? It did ask for consultation. Consultation and independent studies. Right, so someone else other than the ministries involved, an expert evaluating, because some ministries have implied that it is very low risk. But then it's also not being dumped in a regular landfill. There's a lot of protocol involved with transporting it.
So leave it there.
Allegedly,
Our norm is a little more, dangerous than what they're bringing in. But two wrongs don't make a right. So they can keep theirs and we'll keep ours and tell them to maintain ours properly. That's, I don't know. My ideas. My thinking.
Does anyone want to do that? Would we, is that a second motion we would do to? Prepare a second motion, if that's what counts. Or how do you feel? Do you feel like we haven't been strong enough to say we don't want it at all?
I will say that was not clear to me until you said it earlier,
What's that? Sorry.
that you don't want it at all.
Yeah, well, I don't think we do want it at all. No. I thought that's what we kind of were taking in the meetings, was that we don't want it. That, like, let's be honest, it could be a pipe dream of ours that we don't want it and they're gonna ship it here anyways, because they're gonna say that everything fits the norm and you're getting it. And, but we wanna fight it for, as far as, I think, as far as our councils are concerned, we wanna fight it, right? So, but it's nice to have some consultation so we know where we're at, because they're saying it's 5 times less than what's already there. Well, what's already there isn't being taken care of. It's a mess, right? And why do you put good garbage on top of bad garbage?
It's bad garbage.
Yes, so, no, so I agree with you. I don't want it.
I don't think anybody here wants.
I've got to say myself that I just had so many questions about what exactly it is, where, you know, and what the process is. I was, kind of, my opinion was holding out myself, just to see what is happening. I mean, no, it doesn't appear that anything illegal is being done. It just seems improper that we haven't been consulted at all. But Mayor Corum, what's your feeling?
there's been lots of consultation on the Nipissing First Nation side, which it's a good news story. But where they're bringing it and trucking it over 500,000 kilometers, I think that we should receive the same public consultation so that we can be heard, so that we can ask the questions that need to be asked. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't fit what we want or can accept here to protect our property values, then it doesn't go here. That's my thoughts at the end of the day.
So are we interested in making another motion where we're making it clear that we do not want it, or we just?
I
want
think
it?
we push for the public consultation, so then the
That's what I
questions can
think.
be asked. Then, and we can hear from the residents. Right now, it's not an open meeting, so you guys don't have a voice, but in the future, that's where I would like to bring it. Like, we're a month in and we hit the ground running, but there's a lot of moving parts and we're just trying to stop it for now. And then we can work on the finer points.
Any other comments?
Just a note, maybe, for the audience and people and counselors that didn't put the last 2.5 weeks, we've been finding out This started in 2015 consultation, moving this, and they're trying to find places to move it to. So we more or less found out 6 weeks ago, so it is more or less feet on the ground and running. Compared to since 2016, everybody else has had a chance to figure out a plan to get rid of it. So, we put a lot of time into it in a very short period of time. But we need some consultation to find out what's going on, because we don't know. Like, I don't know, and I spent 2.5 weeks on the phone calling everybody I could call. And we had some great meetings, some great phone conversations, had some very concerned citizens, some very concerned politicians. On every side of the fence, everybody seems to be on our side, but we don't know, so. We need some consultation from Ministry of Mining, from federal government, provincial government, because it's a hot potato when you sit down with the government. They're going, it's not ours, it's theirs. Oh, we transferred that to them in January. That's not a Fed issue anymore. It's a provincial issue. Oh, well, it's funny how the federal government says that they don't have to talk to us because it's a federal commodity. But now it's a provincial commodity. Well, no, it's still there. Oh, so it's been a lot of work, guys, that I don't think people see, or maybe the layperson doesn't know, because I didn't have a clue and I still don't have I'm just learning, so. I think some consultation is definitely needed to figure out where we're going and what we're doing. But I agree with, I don't want it. I don't think anybody here wants it. It was removed from people's driveways and people's yards where they were able to collect it in the West Nipissing and replaced with good soil. So how good is it? Why do we want it? But anyways, I'm rambling and we want to get this meeting going.
Do you want to read?
Yeah.
the motion?
Okay, so, we have a motion prepared to move forward with the proper, signature, petitions, so bear with me. Once again, it's somewhat repetitive. Whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin have formally expressed their strong concerns regarding the transportation and deposition of naturally occurring material to the Agnew Lake Tailings Management Area in the Township of Nairn and Hyman, whereas the province of Ontario, the Ministry of Mines, and the Ministry of Transportation has initiated this project without prior consultation with the municipalities. And therefore be it resolved, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin directs the initiation of a signature petition to require the province of Ontario, the Ministry of Mines, and the Ministry of Transportation to halt the project involving the transportation and deposition of naturally occurring radioactive material at the Agnew Lake Tailings Management Area until a clear line of communication is established with local municipalities. An inclusive consultation process has been conducted, and that the province of Ontario enact legislation that consultation with municipalities is a requirement of any projects that include the transportation and deposition of norm.
Councillor Austin, can you move that?
Yes.
And second that?
Sure.
Can I see it? All in favor? That's carried. It'll be a live petition. So one thing that one thing that I think would be obvious to discuss is if we are interested in having a town hall. Do you want the two municipalities to do it together? It seems like it would make sense to me to do it separately, actually, is what I was, different locations. I don't know. Sure, you can come to Nairn. I'll bake a cake. Bake too. Yeah, so do you see it as something that we should do? A town hall is basically where the public can come, we answer the questions, we give them the update. They can interact, they can express their concerns, then we know we can try to get more answers if we need to.
Have some experts here to. answer
Yes.
questions.
So that's why having one location, if you're gonna have experts and
Sure, that
certain
would make
ministries.
sense. Yeah, sure. So I think we're leaning towards one, like doing it together. Does, any comments? You like the idea?
Perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
do we need to pick a date? Or do we just leave it, hope we figure out the date later?
I think we need to contact the experts and find out when
Mhm.
they're available to
Okay.
be here. Okay.
Okay.
So I have a draft motion. I just, I don't have any particulars in it. Basically, all it says that the council's direct that a hall meeting be scheduled and invite, representatives from each, applicable ministry.
Sure. Could we also have people who are able to write in before so that we can provide the ministries so that
Sure,
it can kind of cut back some of the times
okay.
and give expedite process?
Ministry. Involve each area of expertise too, in case we get some
The
other.
ministries involved.
Positive as the country. Who would like to move this on a counselor? I can't quite see your name tag.
Mountains?
Heard it.
Or I'm not sure,
I
right?
can't hear you. What did you say?
Do you want to move this, Ray?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
Maltese?
And second it over here, Counselor Dave Putty. Therefore be it resolved that Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin directs that a town hall meeting will be scheduled and invite representatives from each ministry involved, and further that members of the public may send in written comments, questions, or concerns in advance of the meeting. All in favor? That's carried. We're nearing the end. We have a representative from the Ministry of Transportation, Darren Stevenson, but we would need to have a motion to have him address the two councils. Is that something that you would be interested in? He actually gave us one of this paper that is, the frequently asked questions. Counselor,
Yep.
Generally, yes. Okay, let's get a motion for that. Yep.
Mhm.
Counselor McDonald, do you want to first this?
Yes.
And I need a seconder. Mayor Gorham, or can you
Yeah,
second?
absolutely.
All right.
I will.
Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Township of Baldwin agree to have MTO Representative Darren Stevenson address the two councils. All in favor? That's carried. Mr. Stevenson, if you could come forward and just direct your comments to the two councils.
Okay, first of all, thank you for welcoming me here today. I apologize for the short notice. We were just made aware through the Ministry of Mines of your emergency council meeting on Friday morning. So this has evolved and occurred quite quickly for us. Is council okay with me sharing or paraphrasing what we sent you this morning, or have all of the councilors seen that already?
Yes, they've all seen it, so I think that's,
Is there a need to go through it or?
you could paraphrase relatively, sum it up or.
Okay, so in a letter this morning, jointly to each mayor, we recognize and acknowledge today's meeting. We gave a brief history of the material at the originating end at Beaucage in the late '50s, early '60s, and where it was deposited. We've given a timeline of the agreements between the MTO and Nipissing, together with Indigenous Services Canada, to relocate that material, and the identification of the potential site for disposal at the Agnew Lake Tailings Management Area. A bit of a description of how that operates and who's responsible for that. So I am with the Ministry of Transportation, not the Ministry of Mines. There's a lot of multiple partners here involved in the partnership that's led to where we are today. I would say this is an initiative that's been ongoing for quite some time. The Ministry of Transportation is currently the lead in the current contract that we have for that excavation and transport of material. But there were multiple ministries specialists involved prior to that. So the initiative has a bit of legs. The contract is more recent. The contract that we have was just initiated last summer with a limited partnership by the name of Nipissing Miller. It's an economic consortium between Miller Construction and Nipissing First Nation. I've heard reference to the degree of radiation. I'm not a radiation scientist. I'm a professional engineer, but I deal mostly in construction. Our ministry is involved in this because one of the properties on which the rock tailings were deposited back in the '50s, I think it was the '60s. I apologize, it says '50s in the letter, but I believe it was the early '60s, is property that we own. So that's how the joint partnership between Nipissing First Nation and the ministry was initiated. They're trying to clean up their lands, transport the material somewhere else, as are we. That's how that partnership was created. Indigenous Services Canada is it's a funding agreement that is explained in our Q&As. Indigenous Services Canada is funding Nipissing's portion, and Ministry of Transportation is funding our portion. So the cost sharing agreement that deals with that. There are a lot of provisions that are quite extensive within our contract with Nipissing Miller to deal with the uncertainty or the certainty of what we are in our calling. Health and safety plans directed at their employees on both ends, the originating end and the receiving end. There are soils management plans that detail how they're going to do all this. Dust management plans, because there are some stockpiles that are susceptible to wind. Multiple environmental specialists involved in the initial assessment and the design that predated and occurred before this contract was put out. And we have multiple environmental specialists involved in the current contract. The ministry has retained some environmental oversight to ensure that the contractor's environmental oversight is as per their plans. And there's at least 3 or 4 specialists involved on the team right now. There is some contact information in there as to where further questions can be submitted. I encourage you to make use of that. What we're trying to do, what each ministry is trying to do, is centralize the incoming and outgoing of information so that nothing gets missed. If you'll allow me, I would like to just make a couple of comments on things that I've heard here today. So one, I apologize for the difficulty that everybody's had in finding this information. Clearly, this was not done intentionally and with deceit. There's been reference that there's been lots of consultation at the Nipissing end. There hasn't been done by the ministry. So the ministry attended Nipissing First Nations town hall meeting earlier in the project to support them. It was their initiative that they want to start. So, excuse me, very similar to what I'm hearing in your motion for a town hall meeting. And we would be more than willing to come and assist you as needed. So, but one thing, consultation with other, so in that sense, there has not been, I don't want to say that there's been discriminatory consultation. I don't think there's been any consultation in that sense. Okay, there's knowledge of the work. There hasn't been public consultation per se, I would say. Sudbury is aware. I think most of our interaction with the city of Greater Sudbury would be with their engineering and roads departments. Some of the things that you asked for in one of your other motions about haulage routes and things like that are all well established and are all well known. We'd be willing to share that with you in more detail. There is a lot of information, so I've encouraged any questions that come through us or through any other forum to us are as detailed and comprehensive as possible. To ask what kind of prevention mechanisms we're putting in place may get you all of these health and safety plans, which are quite voluminous, and if you'd like to read through them, we're willing to share them. But if you have specific issues with respect to the type of prevention that's going on, or if you're just looking for a summary and a précis of that, we're more than willing to provide that as well. The Q&As that we've provided to council are public information. They are a revised version of something that already exists on Nipissing First Nation's website. It is a fluid document, which is why the version that you were given is different from the version that's currently posted on their website. I think there's 2 additional points that have been added in August. The previous version, I think, is only a month old. You'll see in those Q&As, you'll see reference to the community, and full disclosure here, those were written from the context of questions and in preparation for the town hall meeting that occurred at Nipissing. So it might appear that we're talking about community, and not talking about communities plural. When they were originally written, that was the intent, but the same definition and intent applies at both ends. We're not intending to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. At this point, there has been no material transported. The reference to the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, essentially, the Ministry of Mines updated their license to, I apologize, I don't have it committed to memory when, but to allow the transport and deposition of this material. It's intended to be for a beneficial use to cover the hotspots that are there now. And it's intended to have cover over top of it as well. It won't be exposed to the environment terrain. It'll be revegetated. There's a foot or 2 topsoil, sand and seed, all that type of stuff is what's intended. Those types of details are included in our contract and in our contractor's plans. The license renewal that Mines had, and please recognize I'm departing from highway transportation stuff, but to just give you a sense of maybe calm some of the fear and anxiety as best I can. Mines license renewal had conditions on it, and that's because the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission is a regulatory agency that has jurisdiction over radioactive material and that license. So they have a role of ensuring that the license conditions are maintained and employed properly. And one of the things, a lot of the things that they're looking at is how is what we're doing going to change that. So right now they're looking at our health and safety plans, our soils management plans, those types of things. The license was intended for this to occur, but we're not doing anything until we hear from them. And they're still reviewing our documents. I heard reference to new roads. there have not been any new roads built associated with this. What we have done on Agnew Lake Mine Road, because it was previously partially surface treated but falling apart, small sections that were paved, we've pulverized all of that to make it a more uniform surface in preparation for things that are still to come. At the receiving end, there's been a lot of preparatory work, a laydown area to separate the material that's being hauled and the, what we'll call clean hauling equipment so that they're not transporting and tracking this stuff all over the place. So there's been a lot of preparatory work, health and safety type of work established there. The other thing that they've done, which maybe is what the reference to the new road is the existing road, which was built when the mine was operational, to be wide enough to allow 2 vehicles to pass without having to pull over, has basically grown in. So we've cut down trees that have grown in over time to reestablish the width of the existing road, again, in preparation for what it is they plan to do. There is ongoing work there now for that preparation, but all of that work is within the license area. The license area, as I understand it, is larger than the deposit that was put there by Kerr Addison back in the 80s. So the work that we're doing right now is nowhere near where the previous material was placed, but it's on the same license and very close in proximity. So all the work that we'll be doing here now is focused on that area away from where the previous tailings department. Water. Again, not a radioactive scientist, but my understanding, if I can, in layman's terms, explain what this is, it's gravel. Radioactive material is contained in the gravel. It's not water soluble. So it's not going to dissolve in the water. There have been health assessments that we've done and with the Ministry of Environment at the originating end to prove that this stuff is not harmful to vegetation and not harmful to wildlife and aquatic life. I can't speak to the extent of things that Mines does in how they manage that site. So I'm not prepared to do that, but it makes sense to me that the same material not being harmed to wildlife, fish, vegetation, and all those things it's originating in will have the same impact here, which is normal. I guess the only thing I'd like to say too is we're available now that you know how to get a hold of us. The best mechanism to get a hold of the Ministry of Transportation is through that generic public facing email address. You have my contact info if you're having difficulty with them. Feel free to reach out. With respect to Mines and their management of that site, I have to defer to them. I'm not qualified to speak about the things that they're qualified to speak about. And we'll always stick around if any of the councillors have questions after the meeting is.
Any questions?
I do have one question. If I may, I think I heard you say that some of this lawn was on Crown land beside the Nipissing community. Did I hear correctly?
So there's essentially at the originating end, there are I'll call them 4 different excavation areas. One is comprised of multiple, actually, ironically enough, I think 4 residential sites where this stuff has migrated. It didn't migrate on its own, but it looks like gravel. So over the years, people have saw a stockpile and said, well, I'm going to use that here. Filled their pickup and did whatever they did with it. We've cleaned up 4 houses so far. The other 3 sites, 2 of them are on the First Nation. One is at the former mill site where it came across Lake Nipissing, so it's on the shore, 2-3 feet from the lake. The other site is on former roadbed that they do not use anymore, but they would like to use again. Nova Beaucage Road. And it's quite extensive. It's not extensive in the sense that it's spread out. So it's material that is also migrated. They've at some point built that road out of this gravel. So that's the second site. The third site is Ministry property, MTO provincial lands, which is directly adjacent to Highway 17, north of the highway. beyond ban lands, but within their traditional lands. So that's how our ministry got involved in it, is there has been stuff deposited over the years, provincial property.
Thank you. That's what I heard.
Anyone else?
Follow-up question?
Yeah.
So the material is not harmful, but it shouldn't be used for the purposes that you described?
I don't know if that's fair to say. And again, not being a scientist and not having been involved in the original assessment and design. I get the sense, so the property that the mill site was on is property that Nipissing would like to develop and have available for other uses. And they don't feel comfortable, and again, speaking for them, but that's my understanding, they don't feel comfortable with that current condition, they would like to make it a park. The other road they would like to expand and put traffic on, so I think logically there's a concern was it can get traffic. So they would like to remove that material so that we can place good material. Different material, so that they can. Does that answer your question? Yes.
A lot of people ask me about the receiving and the loading areas as to what is being done to keep the trucks clean and sealed in there. Can you explain what is being done there?
I can explain it in simplicity, but there's a lot of details in that soils management plan that, that our contractor has developed and that they are currently having CNSC review. So I guess the simplest way to put it is we've got material that, that there's concern about and they don't want to be tracking them. So what they're doing is they're isolating, once they bring equipment into the area where they're going to be loading equipment, it's not leaving that site until it's been completely cleaned, including the hauling trucks. At both ends, they've created what they call a dump wall, so that there's a physical barrier that won't allow that equipment to travel from one side to the other. So if we can use acronyms, or not acronyms, but just simple terminology. Dirty clean. So everything will be clean before it leaves the site. It will be clean all the way here until it gets here. And then the same operation will happen in reverse here. The material will be dumped from the clean side onto the dirty side across the dump wall. And different equipment that's already on the other side, pick it up and place it where it's intended to. A lot of tarping, if anybody's in construction, you see cannons and things like that with tarps. All regulatory requirements for hauling on public roads, but these tarps are, I would say, are less susceptible to dust and blowing, ripping, and tearing. They're very much entirely encased. They're on rollers instead of flippers. They slide along the sides. It reduces the risk that material is blowing out as it's in transport. I haven't been asked, but I heard it alluded to what would happen in the case of an accident. Gravel, it's not fluid, it's not running somewhere, you don't have to contain it. If there's an accident and truck flips over, it's our understanding, we just need to pick the material up that's filled.
Seeing one picture, do you still have your question?
Just a follow-up to Councillor Austin's question. You had mentioned earlier, and correct me if I heard you wrong, that this is not water soluble. So these areas where this equipment is being washed and contained, is there any issues with that water getting into perhaps little creeks and streams and groundwater?
No, so where we're doing any washes, so the washing, the cleanliness of the vehicles at one end is being done through multiple means. Including water, but some of them are being wiped. It's in the dry, like these things, these trucks, because of the tarping system on them, cannot be loaded with a loader. They have to be loaded with an excavator. The opening at the top of the truck is smaller. Can't be done accurately with a loader. So it's being done with an excavator. It's a smaller load. There's more control of the operator to put it into the box instead of spilling it all over the place. Any water that's being used is being contained. The permit, the license that Mines has does not permit the disposal of water, so we're going to deal with that water ourselves. It's being contained, it's being tested. My understanding is because the material is not soluble, that eventually it'll settle out, so we can pump the water off the top and take it to the normal township landfill site in North Bay, the city in North Bay. I don't believe it's hazardous waste, but I'm not entirely sure. But the expectation is that it's, for all intents and purposes, if it sits long enough, it's clean.
Could you just explain the containment system that you have?
No, can't. I apologize. So I am the area construction manager for a team of other professionals that oversee the job that are on the site on a frequent day-to-day basis. I have access to that information, but I don't have it committed to me. I apologize.
Any other questions?
Okay, so there's no material currently being transported?
There's no rock tailings from the Beaucage mine currently being transported. There will be virgin granular A
Okay, that's fine.
from an outside source being hauled to the preparation area. One of the other things that we need to do is ensure that the work that we're doing, and anything that we need to clean up before we leave. So we're using a haul road that goes into the actual tailing management area, about 1 kilometer long between where the dump site will be and onto the actual site itself. That's the road that's been widened and where we've cut all the trees. And so we're putting down a sacrificial layer of geotextile and about 6 inches of granular A that we will pick up later before we leave.
I'm just looking for some clarity on the timetable. Was the original intention in the project plan to be transporting the NOAA material by now? Has
Yes.
that been delayed because of the CNSC?
Yes,
Are there reasons for that delay? Presumably they're aware of the project plan?
they're very aware. They're in the process. I think it's maybe just the information. So as part of the license I alluded to earlier, there were things that they needed to look at, things that couldn't be provided in advance until we had a contractor on board. I would say it's taking longer for us to prepare what they need to review. And they're taking their time and being diligent.
Do you have a sense of how long they may take their time for?
I don't have a lot of hope for what we intended to do.
I mean, there were
No,
also
I don't.
concerns about the transportation being done before winter, for example. So again, just
That's
trying to get a
intended,
sense.
that is intended from a
Timetable.
timetable perspective, that was the original intent. The contractor has, I'm gonna say about 2 to 3 weeks of preparatory work to finish off of the material site, and then we also need to create a buffer area for the equipment that's going to be working on the actual tailings management area itself, which again includes sacrificial access road that will come off later. But a geomembrane that will spread and disperse the load. We've got environmental things that we need to do to contain just surface runoff, things like that, straw bale flow checks, so the whole perimeter will be contained. So that the material doesn't get outside of it. So we've got likely 2 to 3 weeks of work doing that before we can ever receive loads. So at the originating end right now, we are excavating some of the sites. They're stockpiling it as best they can. On site, it's not, we can't haul it here until everything at this end is prepared and CNSC has been satisfied with the submissions that have been made to them. Okay.
Oh, Mayor Gore?
So the ministry's had control of this site for about 35 years.
Which ministry?
Which ministries of mines?
I don't know. I work for the Ministry of Transport.
No, for sure. So they've had it since I think the late 80s. And I think,
I would say that order of magnitude, I think was early 90s, but not being from a
Sure.
mining community, I have no idea what happened between when the mine stopped and when they took it over or why. I don't understand it.
so it's been about 35 years. I think the state of the mine or the tailings area was in poor repair, like the cap was eroded. And the levels were higher than acceptable for camping and recreation.
I don't know.
That was in one of the letters provided.
So I don't know if that, but I'm not entirely sure, but one of the reasons that we think this is a beneficial use is because we're hoping to cap areas that they've identified to us, like fit your description, but I don't personally. do that.
No, for sure, but if they had already identified them as areas of, that needed work, why would they wait till there's more than fixing the problem? That's what worries me,
That's a very valid question, but the Ministry of Mines would be better suited to answer.
for sure. Just trying to find it, but it is in one of the letters here.
Right
Oh.
where it's highlighted.
There are currently some areas of the Altma where dose estimates exceed the CNSC regulatory limit for casual site users. So after 35 years of them having control, this is what we're having, and now we want to dump another 1,330 truckloads.
So I'm familiar with the content of that letter. The lack of understanding that I have is how long it's existed and how long they've known about it. They're doing periodic monitoring. They have to, right? CNSC has been very diligent to ask them to go out and do extra water monitoring, well sampling, and things of that nature on the site. We're aware of it, but we're not involved in it. So, your worship, I'm not too sure if there's a question there for the Ministry of Transportation.
Not to the Ministry of Mines, but it just seems like it's being poorly run. Now we're gonna add more. So that's one of our concerns.
Understood. I'll stick around after in case somebody else has.
No, I have a question. So we understand that when the trucks go back and forth, they have to be cleaned somehow either way, like after they dump. Can you describe the safety equipment or some of the protocol for the employees that are dealing with it, that are maybe driving the truck or unloading it? What are they wearing? What are they?
So in between times when workers will need to actually be working and moving material on the site. If there's nothing for them to do, meaning a truck hasn't arrived that they need to deal with, they will relocate off-site, off of where the existing tailings management area is, but still within that clean side of the wall. Part of the laydown area and things that are there are dry mine trailers that are used in mines. So essentially, clean and dirty again. They're wearing full personal protective equipment. They don't leave the site with it. They go in one end of the trailer, they dispose of it on the floor. There's showers, stalls, lockers. They go out through the clean side, put their clean stream clothes on and go out the other end of the trailer. Everything that water is all like with our watch water is contained as a result of that. And very much something that is a responsibility of the contractor to ensure the safety of his employees, their employees. That, as I mentioned, I can't speak eloquently about the cleaning mechanisms, but I know that there are multiple. It's generally understood that once equipment is dealing with the rock tailings, it's there and moving or not moving off the site until they're done. So these trucks aren't going home every night. They're going back to storage area in North Bay on one of the sites there. And they'll go back and forth between, but the drivers aren't driving these trucks home and parking them in their driveway. They're staying on the job site. So there's that degree of separation, that type of diligence. Like I said, their health and safety plans, there's 2 separate ones for each end. I think more than willing to share with, but I don't own them. There are contractors, but they should be in the public domain, I would imagine.
Yeah, I still maintain that would be great for our emergency responders to know. Because if you're showing up and everyone has special equipment and we don't even know what the site, I mean, now we do, but we weren't even aware of it. So yeah, I think our emergency responders need to know. Any other questions or comments?
Oh, just one final one, please. The gentleman probably doesn't have the answer, but I was just wondering who had the right idea of bringing it here as opposed to leaving it on crown land owned by the Ministry of Transportation where it already is somewhere. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
The gentleman doesn't have the answer.
I didn't think so.
I don't, but, not bad, I gotta leave it. Yes, I don't understand how that got initiated. I understand a little bit about where we are today. I was a ministry employee when it was initiated, but I wasn't working on that, so it's, I could speculate that that doesn't serve any purpose.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you so
Thank
much. Oh, actually, hang on, Deputy.
Well, I have a similar comment or question perhaps, if it's not for you to address, that's fine. My understanding is that this project's been in the works for years. Lots of people are involved. Health and safety concerns have been considered and addressed. Environmental concerns have been considered and addressed. Folks over there are well aware of it. The rest is coming as a surprise. That was accidental. We have a problem here currently which needs to be addressed. They have a proposed solution to their problem and our problem, which a whole bunch of people say is fine and good. So I completely appreciate that we were not informed and that it's a surprise to us that we haven't had an opportunity to come to the same conclusion of all of these people who have been working on this project for years. But again, I don't know where the question is.
Maybe the question is why?
Is that
Why
a
weren't we
fair summary of the
consulted?
situation that we're in?
I don't disagree with anything you said, so as far as to my knowledge, everything you said was factual. It has been being worked on for years. I don't know if it's 5, 10, or 20, but yes, you just there was nothing.
Thank you so much,
You're very
Mr.
welcome.
Stevenson. That was very informative and yeah, it did answer a lot of questions. Counselor McVeigh, is there anything you'd like to say to summarize? You've done a lot of work on this. Mayor Gorman,
I'm good, thank you for now.
anything else? Daniel Ketchaba? Thank you,
Councillor Ross.
Counselor Austin.
Yes. Mayor Gorman, you have a copy of the petition here?
I don't, it's online only, but we are gonna draft new provincial ones and federal ones, so we can get on the floor.
We were just hoping that maybe people here could sign.
Well, that would have been a good idea, no, that was an oversight.
Okay, thank
We
you.
can prepare and we can put out a notice on a respective Facebook feed of where they're
For
going
sure.
to be. So
Okay,
the
well, that
public
was
can
good.
come and sign.
And
Will the petition specifically say we don't want it?
I think our strongest footing would be we want consultation and then we can get the public involved. And it might be unanimous that nobody wants it, but I think we want to be open-minded going into it with ministries so that we're respectful and they're attentive to our concerns. But
I'm trying hard to brainwash people.
well, and we're strong in numbers. I don't think we'll be bullied one way or another.
Well, thank you so much, everyone that came out. I need someone to move the inflammatory bylaw, or you want to read it?
I should have explained that. So our council has a confirmatory bylaw that we pass at the end of every council meeting that just makes every motion that's carried legal. So we pass this at the end. I'm not sure what your council does, but if you don't mind
No, for
moving
sure.
forward with it.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor, do you mind firsting?
sure.
Seconding, Councillor McVeigh, be it resolved that being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin at its joint emergency meeting held on August 19th, 2024. Be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed in open council, and its number shall be 2024-27. All in favor? It's carried. And then move, Counselor McDonald, will you move to
Yes.
close? And
Sure.
let me, McDowell. McDonald and McDowell,
Big time.
yeah. Moved by Counselor McDonald, second by Counselor McDowell, be it resolved that council adjourns the meeting at 3:14 PM. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you so much, everyone. It's good to see so much enthusiasm.
Absolutely.
Second Monday.